Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our very first episode of Conscious Conversations. I am Carrie Merriam.
I'm Filippa Levemark.
And we actually met yesterday. We had the same beautiful idea about crafting conversations to impact the world, to get people to recognize there's different ways to exist. But my primary mission is to really allow individuals to recognize that they can take action in their lives. And not only do the inner work, but allow the inner work to shift the external environment in which they're existing. And today we're going to talk about expression, which is really your passion and what you want to share with the world. So what does that look like for you?
Well, I think expression is just one part of what you're talking about already. And I think for me it comes down to what fundamentally is me and what fundamentally needs to be coming through me. And I think a lot of the times we look at ourselves like from an outward perspective in, it's kind of like a disembodiment, right? Because we're seeing ourselves as if we're looking at ourselves from someone else's viewpoint. And that's when we're like inhibiting our own space. Literally, like the movement you do is confined to your like being in a kind of strict body posture towards like dancing, where you're like moving out,
expansion,
and like honestly taking up space and like moving energy within everything.
But so many of us are actually so fearful of taking up space.
Right, and there's so much in it, and there's so much about that, because taking up space, what does it mean, right? It means existing in this world. And being in space.
And also being worthy to exist in the world. I think so many of us, again, based on what has happened within our experiences, but not only what has happened, what we believe what has happened, what we've associated to what has happened, that we've allowed to define ourselves and really shrink our energetic essence. To be confined within this herd mentality. Because we're indoctrinated, especially in America, around so much fear. Fear to be, fear to, even step out of line. Look at how society positions us at the airport. We wait in line. We have to go through security. We can't fall out of line. We can't bring our water in. And obviously those things are good in some retrospect, but even from a very young age, in the school system in America, we were taught when to go outside, when to take a pee break, when to have our chocolate milk, when we were allowed to eat lunch. It's very similar to the prison systems, right? It is. It's so similar. So from a very young age, we have been indoctrinated to not be big, to not play big, to not even really play, to fall in line. Because guess what? It's much easier to rule if people obey. And don't express themselves.
And also they're sitting down the whole day. Like you're going from one box to another box, right? And what is this? This is confinement, right? So we're actually literally saying prison. I just see it as like a confined space. And we're like, fundamentally, we're just as animals in that sense, right? Because we want to move around, we want to be in nature, we want to see the sky, yet we're putting ourselves in boxes. And that is also like, it's not just a box as in a house or in a school or like in a prison. It's also like putting our bodies into a framework and not having that freedom of nature, of expansion, right? So there's so many parts of this when we're coming into levels. So for me, like expression is that. It's like coming out where you have full entire space and there's nothing that's like holding you back in that. And whether that's words, which I find is really important, because like we're both in this, right, that words play a part in creating our reality. And so words and your voice is super important, because that's like what you're communicating in terms of language, right? And so you're also communicating your own vision of yourself through language, and that's one part. But then you have the entire full spectrum of what is communication, and it's so much in your body, and it's so much in your like tone of voice, it's so much in your, like it doesn't have to be voices in your vocal cords either. Like it can be like, I come from a painting background, right? It's like, what do I want to create?
The roles that you play and how you identify yourself within the roles.
So it's kind of like, for me, it's tuning into what wants to come through me rather than who I am.
Beautiful.
So, and what do you, like, what's your, when you hear expression, like what's your first?
Vibrancy, playfulness. Again, expansion.
What's your expression? Like, what's your, when you see yourself in that or something?
When I feel most connected to source, it's when I'm dancing. When I feel most in alignment to my body, it's, you know, when I'm just allowing the music to really move my body, or when I'm facilitating breath, or when I'm participating in deep breath work.
Yeah.
Because it is, those activities for me are bypassing the intellectual mind that is driving the thought, but also producing the thought.
Yeah.
And it just gets you into the emotional essence of you, to what people call soul or what other people call spirit.
Yeah.
It's that higher version of yourself that is not necessarily associated to the mind, that is beyond the mind and beyond the body and connected to all of the things.
Yeah.
So when you're able to fully express, that activates such a beautiful flow state within you. So there's so many different components of expression that are so important to incorporate in our everyday existence. And what would be a suggestion, because this is kind of your obsession as expression, what would be a suggestion that you could provide the people that are listening right now that they can do right now to feel a little bit of embodiment of expression for themselves, and what that would be authentically for them?
Well, I think for me personally, like, I can only teach what I'm doing for myself, right? And for me, it's like the absolute first step is to literally feel my body, I think. So it's like even just going through mentally, like putting my awareness in different places of my body.
Kind of like a body scan, like put your focus on your toe, put your focus on your ankle, just like feel into that space. Okay.
Yeah. And that would be like it's like grounding. To just feel my connection to the earth, feel my connection to my body, like literally the first step. Actually, probably before that is breathing. Like,
well, we're always breathing. We're always breathing. If not,
like,
you're dead.
Conscious of it.
Yeah.
Right? So like maybe like conscious about like taking in, because breathing is taking in energy in your exhalation, right? And then expanding that energy when you're exhaling. So like first taking in a breath, taking it out, and then like feeling your body. Like it's just very basic, I think.
It's the exchange of the energy of yourself with the energy of everything.
Yeah, and I think we can
It's a dance.
We can even feel where our awareness is at, because if we're thinking, like if we're in that mode where there's different ways of thinking also. I think thinking it gets a lot of like disrespect in quote unquote spiritual worlds, because like thinking is a creative activity as well. So there's so many different ways we can use our brain. But when I say thinking now, I mean when we're in the place of judgment, or just when we're not present, we're just thinking of future or past, right? And so a lot of people are generally in the state, and for that reason, I think just shifting your focus alone to your breath puts you into present moment. And so that is just the first easiest step to do. And then out from that, obviously, when you're present, then eventually you can come into that place where you're feeling into like, what does my body want to create? And body as in my whole being. What does it want to create right now? And then obviously there's layers and layers of people or of things that cut you back from not doing that, like society and rules and all of this. So there's like a lot of steps, but yeah, the first is the coming into your body.
So get connected to your breath.
Yeah. It's so
breath
basic.
is the key.
It's so basic.
I know, but so many people don't do it. And a really easy way to get connected to your breath, and if you are driving a car, do not do this. Wait till you stop driving the car or walking, like actually be grounded. Don't be doing another activity while you start to do breath work. But something that's so simple, if you are feeling tired or if you are feeling lethargic or lackadaisical, take a bigger inhale. So sit up tall and just go. That should get you dizzy just off itself, because you're activating the pranic life force within you, but you're also taking in more oxygen, which is going to naturally energize you. Most of us aren't breathing enough. Most of us aren't taking enough oxygen, and we're not breathing throughout the day. And then we're combining that with stimulus. So every time we do an activity, like every time we eat or every time we smoke or anytime we're doing anything that's ingesting, we're actually activating the parasympathetic nervous system, and we're extending our exhale versus our inhale. So all of those things, plus the energetic stimulus that is constantly bombarding us, is making us feel less vibrant. And I feel like expression is so connected to vibrancy. So activate your breath first. It's so genius. And then if you don't know what to do with your body, just shake your body out. That's what I would tell someone. Like, get fucking weird. Like, just get weird. Dance, shake, sing, scream. Yeah, just like shaking's amazing, right?
We're like, oh, let's do this.
And people don't realize too that shaking is like the yogi's ancient wisdom of releasing stored trauma. And I think we think of trauma as this like, I saw someone die in front of me, but it doesn't have to be. Trauma can be someone telling you to go fuck off in traffic. Like that can be traumatic on your system. That can shoot cortisol levels off. That can create stress. So you might just need to shake that shit out. So 2 things to get really expressive: breathe, bigger inhales for sure, and then shake the shit out. Anything else? You want to add to this craziness of expression?
And just have fun. Come on. That's the thing, right? Sometimes we just get into our brain and we're just in this mode of like having this seriousness or having this like, if I breathe, I have to also be like super calm and tranquil. And it's like, no, you can like laugh. You can like, whatever, you know?
We're going to ditch that dharma because I feel like I'm the biggest yogi ever, and like, I really enjoy fashion and I say fuck all the time. Maybe it's the New Jersey in me, but people are like, you've been teaching yoga for 10 years? You have a trucker mouth. So it's
and you think about language?
Yeah, and you think about language and like society indoctrination and school systems and the prison system. But again, it's the expression part, right? It's just being authentic. And if you're on that journey to figuring out what your true expression is, because I do think it's a journey and it might shift over time, just start to develop the relationship with your body, which I love. And the breath. Develop the relationship with the breath and then develop the relationship with the body.
And so once you start doing this is a magical thing that happens, is that when you start to like expressing yourself, what you're doing is you're allowing other people to step out of their comfort zone and express themselves. And so what helps me a lot is to think about this, because if I can step into like being weird and crazy and like just dance and free and like doing things that people might consider like, whoa, she's like weird, then I'm like opening up that space for others. And that thought alone opens me up. And so that's like a brilliant thing. Don't do it for yourself. If you're afraid of what people would think about you, then don't do it for you. Do it for someone else who might need that.
Yes, be the trailblazer of the weirdness that you are.
Yeah, because then everyone can be that, and it just makes it a more fun playground to be on.
Energy is contagious. 100%.
Yeah.
We've gotten more excited just talking about conscious conversations.
Right.
Yeah, we got animated just because we're both like in the zone and geeking out on being weird.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah to geeking out on being weird.
I feel like we have to share the story of like how we met.
Okay, share the story.
Yeah, so we were attending a like how to create your podcast episode yesterday. We're at Mind Valley University, by the way, in Tallinn, and we met at AFES, but we didn't connect.
We locked eyes. She just forgot me. Just kidding.
And so then, like, I saw Kari outside of the podcast, and I actually the event. And I ran down, there was a bunch of people, and I was like, I'm going to open this door. And I directly felt her energy. It's like, this is a cool girl. And then we sat beside each other, and I was like, I probably need to talk to her about something. I don't know what. And then we were like, what name should we come up with our podcast?
P.S. That's following the butterflies.
Yeah.
That's following that gut intuition, right? Connecting to like, oh, what's this about? And then taking action on it is huge.
Oh, yeah.
Huge part of expression.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Because it's allowing us to express right now.
Yeah.
By following your gut intuition.
Oh my God. Oh, so many.
Full circle.
Yeah. So and then the guy that, what's his name? Emrit, that was leading the workshop. He's like, what's going to be your name of the podcast? And Kari was like, well, I want to create this podcast that's going to be called Conscious Conversations. I was like,
that's
getting goosebumps. I was like, this is a name that I've already decided that I wanted to create, together with other people as well, right? And so
Yeah. And it was born.
And then I said, hey, we have to talk about this. Like, we obviously have something in common. And this is part of it as well. This is like creating these connections where we're in tune with like our own intuition and creating a conversation out of that, whatever that needs to be, right? I think also expanding on what a conversation is, because conversation is words, but it's so much more than words, right? It's
energetic
exchange. It's feeling into energy. It's tuning into the present moment. And so, yeah. And then we just decided to record today. Like, how magical is this not?
I love it. I love it. So hopefully, guys, you love this first episode, but we want to hear from you so much. So please go over to iTunes and leave us feedback, but also leave us specific topics that you would love us to talk about. And let's get weird together. Does that sound good? Let's start this movement. Yeah. Let's expand our consciousness by getting weirder together. Like, can we say that? Okay, cool. And go out and express yourself. Make someone laugh. Make yourself laugh. Dance. Whatever you want to do, but choose today, choose right now to breathe a little bit more and be in your body a little bit more. And
And if not for you, for someone else who needs it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you guys so much again. This is Carrie.
Thank you. This is Filippa.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Yay!
Yeah!